All right, we're live and rocking and rolling. So this one, I actually, didn't expect it. I'm actually working an idea here. It's a trend continuation at the end. I'm expecting that we're going to close below yesterday's close. So here's yesterday's close at 402. Trend day, as long as we stay inside of yesterday's range, which is 445-ish, I'm looking for us to rotate down. It is a trend day. We did not make the low in the last hour, but we're up here around one standard deviations. It's a good area to look for it to potentially fail. But essentially, what the auction had to do is it had to trade higher to find more sellers. So we'll kind of work this here, kind of in this last hour. We'll kind of see, how this goes. It's possible that we flush all the way down to the weekly VWAP. We do have the last week's, not last week's, the yesterday's VPOC at 370. We could come and find ourselves resting there as well. If I look at the 1 hour, that is now the 5-day. So unless we spend the rest of the time here around 420, I could see us hit 371. We cleaned the monthly close, and then we've got monthly VWAP. We'll see. Like, if this is going to work, this is going to work. Fairly close. It's been really remarkable to see a trend day lower that's stuck. But I don't want to get too overboard. But I'm noticing this area in the profile here, that looking to see if value can come down to price, right? And if value can come down to price, so I don't want to add unless I'm above that area, kind of that 420 area. I'm happy to take it off. So, I'm going to take some off here at 370 or 387. And if we just fall out of bed and run through down to 305, so be it. But the rules of I'm not selling below value. I'm selling above where I think developing value would be, which at least gives me a little bit of some grace. But we'll see. And as far as this session, I wasn't anticipating that I'd actually have something to show you live, so we'll do this one instead. Most often these are going to be a replay where we're going to pull a signal that was generated, and then we'll take a look at those. And so I think that if you have any questions as we go along on these, I am recording these. I'll post these in the live recording channel so that anybody who missed them can see them later. But if you have questions about what I'm doing or thoughts, I'm happy to hear them. And because I don't know exactly how long this is going to take to play out. This should play out here. Ideally, I want to get the bulk of this off before we get to that 350 rebalance. We'll see. We will see. It's been a pretty good day in terms of some reaction at pretty standard technical references like overnight low, prior high, monthly close. This is why we have these types of references. Just don't want this above 450, or we could end up running all the way back up here to 47. Just need to stay.
Hey Josh,
Yeah.
I had my speaker off. Like when you're first starting to talk, what trade are you doing here?
So
What is the?
it's a trend continuation, and
Okay.
it's based on the idea that when you have a trend day, you'll see the extreme price in the last hour. So we made a low at what a little after lunch, but we haven't seen that low. So expecting to see yet lower prices. We'll see, right?
Okay.
I mean, there's typically on a trend day. I mean, you can see the VPOC's way up here at 611. If the VPOC was down here already at like 410, I might be a little bit more aggressive because that would represent some bearish imbalance in the profile. That's why we're not like necessarily like just falling out of bed at this point. Now we're kind of waiting to try to pull value higher, but we'll see. But that's as long as we stay kind of in this trending direction and stay inside of these, we colloquially call the trending channel, right? I'm inside of 1 to 2 standard deviations of VWAP. As long as we stay inside of that and stay below the prior day's high, we should. I think we'll come rest here at 370. And I mean, it's possible that we puke and run all the way to 305, but we'll see.
We good. Thanks for covering that again.
Yeah, man. Like with so many of these playbook setups, there's a driving condition. So what's the driving condition here? The driving condition is that it's a trend day lower. Okay, so then that sets expectations for then what we're looking for and what we're expecting. Doesn't mean that we're gonna necessarily get exactly what we want, but the condition is there that warrants saying let's take a look. And so once you're kind of in an idea, we go back to those 3 questions of like what should happen, what shouldn't happen. I've got sellers here. What would make sellers nervous? If we get back above the prior high, think what's happened in the auction. We rejected higher prices. We went all the way back into the prior day's range, and yet we weren't able to stay in the prior day's range. It was kind of like we went down there to find more buyers, and those buyers saved the day. Whereas the longer we stay inside of this area, that's more favoring the sellers. And you'll notice on the here on the TPO chart. So we're 6 wide at 415. So we're effectively out of time. We don't have enough TPOs left to significantly change where that's going to be. And in 20 minutes here, we print another TPO most likely here around 411. That'll shift the point of control lower. So we're just going to sit here and camp out and see if this thing agrees with us or not. And if we get above the prior high, I will peel it off. That's my 445. We get above that price. I am likely wrong because we could run back to 485, and while that's not the spot that we spent the most time in during the RTH session, you can see the full Globex profile here. We have spent the bulk of time at 46. So we'll see.
Hi, Josh. Can you hear me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, great. I needed to figure out how to unmute myself. So, could you show us, please, where you got into the trade and where your initial stop was? And
Yeah.
I would also be interested how you differentiate between an IB go with and the trend continuation today, because in my mind, both have been, or it could have been viable.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Maybe.
Yeah, so that specific. So let me ask the first question of just differentiating between an IB go with or a trend continuation. So trend continuation is when we have confirmation that it's a trend day. An IB go with, you don't know yet. So you're leaning on the IB extension. When it's a trend day, a trend continuation, you're leaning on the reality that it is in fact a trend day. So we had confirmation of that as we went into lunch, where we're past. Like if let's just expand this profile right here. Okay, we outside the IB, we're multiple periods of one time framing, and we get out past. Essentially outside of the IB, and we continue to one time frame lower. So as that's happening, that's at that point I'm thinking about trend continuation. The specific move that really got me interested was this push right here, which for most playbook trades we look to not enter during the lunch period. Trend continuation is the exception to that rule, but essentially we had been balancing right here around 500 and a little bit of a micro balance range, and then we broke. We had not yet closed. We had not yet closed the gap, but ES had closed the gap. Russell had closed the gap. So we're looking for that final push to close the gap, and so it was on that break, essentially the tempo here, that I was short, and we got it was kind of off of that we got to the prior day's point of control. So that was up. Where was that? Right here around 425. Yeah, so 425, we got the prior day's point of control. I covered the bulk of it because we had pushed past these deviations, and they rallied back out. And then when we came back later, back below and back inside the prior day's range, I'm again kind of adding to it. So it's been one of those where when we push lower, I peel, I get back up, and as long as we stay in a trend day kind of perspective, I'll keep trying to do this. Add back in above areas we're developing, peel off as we get below those developing areas, and see if that puts me in a position where we just flush into the close. We haven't had a flush in the close in a long time, so I don't know that we'll see that today, but we'll see. So that was the deal. I did take the IB go with once we cleared these gamma levels, and we had the rule on a gap day. If you take out IB low but there's a gap, that does not mean IB go with short. I'm really cautious about that. What gave me more confidence was how weak the ES and the Russell were, and then on top of that, we broke below a gamma level and ETH VWAP. So those are references that I was like, okay, as long as we stay below those, it's more likely that we would push back towards halfway back on the session. And if you get below halfway back on a gap, then there's no, as was the case here, there was no gamma in between. The path of least resistance was to close the gap. So that was kind of unusual for a summer type of trade, and a lot of this is the uniqueness of what's going on this week with tariffs, and who's going to do tariffs. And in fact, isn't today the tariff deadline for some stuff? Is that right? Let's see.
It changes so much.
Yeah, I saw something earlier on that China was getting kicked down the can again, and so it was like, let's see here. I see a lot of comments from Bostic. Yeah. No news. No, I mean, nothing. So we're hanging out. So again, if we get to, yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, far.
Well, thanks for your answer. Very interesting to hear the details. And so what I have learned on a day like this, where we hold this RTH reverb channel trend -1 to -3, and don't accept below above DVA or
Yeah.
RTH reverb.
Mm-hmm.
And the rotations were very. You also have the zigzag indicator, I see, and the rotations were very regular today. So you have the strategy to add and take scale outs at the probable highs and lows from these rotations.
Yeah, and sorry, I don't have my pen tool on here. That would make it. Let me see if I got something I can draw with. I need to fix this. So much of it is thinking about where value is. So if let's see, I think this has some drawing tools in it. Well, here's what we can do. So we can see here, there's an area of volume, right? There's certainly an area of acceptance. We have 6 TPOs there. It's almost as much as, like from an RTH value, it's almost enough there. From an ETH value, we've done way more volume at 611 than we have here at 406. But, I'm always identifying like where are these zones. So if the expectation is that we're going to, migrate value lower in a trend day, which, in a trend day higher, I would expect that we would migrate value higher. On a trend day lower, we're going to migrate value lower, trying to identify where are these areas, like today with this, 413-ish area, 420, 400, whatever. That's an area that if I get above that, that's a better trade location. Because like right here, that's why I'm taking, I took some off at overnight low. I would take some off here also at 70, is because I'm below that. And, at the close, we're likely to still go back to that 410 area, dump a bunch of volume to try to pull the point of control lower. So it doesn't always happen like that. I mean, sometimes we leave the point of control way up there. But at least in this case, I've got a better chance of having, good location relative to where value is potential to develop. So, we think here in 10 more minutes, we're going to get another TPO. Where is that likely, where are we likely going to see that? So we're probably going to see this 410 area again. So, and if I could get, even if I get up to 425, 437, there's just not enough time left to shift where that point of control is going to be. So I know what to defend, and so that becomes kind of the baseline, and then you can layer some of the smaller time frame stuff in on top of it to say, okay, well, just like we talked about the other day when we were doing one-on-one of like, you're in these areas. You don't always get perfect touches on them, but it is the area that I want to be, active in, and then we'll just have to see how how it plays. Should be able to 10 more minutes. And now, what could happen outside of there could be an announcement, there could be a catalyst that's announced, a deal that's announced or something like that could throw this whole thing in a wrench. So it's not outside their own possibility, but we'll see. So we can see just trailing a VWAP from where that push happened over lunch. The auction's been unable to really accept back above that, or actually I could go back here where this last impulsive buyer or seller stepped in. And then here's the VWAP from the responsive buying. So yeah, if we get below overnight low, get through this, 70 should be pretty easy. We'll see.
When you use anchored VWAPs, do you anchor this to the high or low, or to some kind of average?
So I will, like on this case where there's a low, I'll anchor it to a low, but I'll also typically anchor it to an area where there was a move out of, so I can essentially see where's that anchored VWAP from where that strength came in. So like if I see there was balance down here at 430, right? So I could go back and anchor a VWAP to where those buyers stepped in, and that gives me an idea of how it's performed since those buyers stepped in. Same thing up here. I mean, I could use this one, but really if I go back to where there were some significant sellers that stepped in, kind of in this area, that gives me an insight into, how likely am I going to have someone fight at one of these prices? And then, if we get past them, we get acceptance or tempo past them, then, we can increase velocity. So if like, let's say somebody tried to buy that bottom today, they tried to, catch the knife with their hands. I mean, where's a spot that they start to get really nervous? Like, if we get below, if we spend, very much time at all below this VWAP here, then expect them to puke. I don't use these a lot unless we're in a really distinguished trend and it's real clear where those significant areas of strength came in to know where to anchor it from. So.
Okay, great. But you won't. You won't anchor it to the high or low of the candle. So
no.
Except, for example, if you okay, that's probably high-low close average or something like this.
Yeah, it's standard VWAP calculation, but where I'm anchoring it to is where the buyer stepped in. So as opposed to, because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get the average weighted price of that participant, not of a high or a low of the session.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yep. All right, so we have an inside 30-minute period here. What's it gonna be? We'll get that 370, come on. So, one of the ways that I'll use this, I have this limit at 370, but once we break below that VWAP, then I'm going to pull, like this. Actually, like that.
Order filled.
Come on, get below that. Let's go. All right. Let's see if we can get back above this kind of 420 area again. And then this one I'm going to take off. We're running out of time at the end of the session, so I'm not going to be peel off and wait and see if I can get. Be great if we could get up around 425 or something like that. Get back above this developing area. Might add some more. See what the rest of the world's doing here. So Russell, actually, that's interesting. Let's look at the Russell. Got monthly VWAP down there. However, you can see from the TPO that sellers have not been getting paid. And we could let's see if we get up here to. I may if we get to 216 before we get to new lows, I may do something with the Russell. One more minute, then we get another TPO. There we go. Now let's see if we can rotate up to like 425-ish. Might add another one there. We still haven't pulled that point of control lower. And we may not get any more moves until the 350 rebalance. We'll see. because we're definitely balancing here at the close, right? Inside period. So last 30 minutes was an inside period. This is an inside period so far. Could easily see him go test 440 first. Oh my God. Denominate. Oh, Jesus. All right. So now we're testing that trail. So I'm fine for them to test back towards that back to the high, but I want to see failure. I am still expecting that we're going to have a lower close. We'll see. Just going to work our way around this node. So what I was responding to was it looks like that Trump has nominated Steve Moran for the Fed. That's kind of scary. That's really scary.
Not sure who that is.
So he is a White House chief economic chair. He is like the entire kind of reshaping of the world order and trade and everything. That is all the brainchild of Moran. He wrote a white paper that circulated before Trump came into office that kind of laid out the playbook for what they're trying to do. He kind of reads to me as like one of these guys that like I am smarter than everybody else. I don't know that he is, but he certainly postures himself that way. I think he was with let's see. I try to remember his where's this paper? Yeah, it's called A User's Guide to Restructuring the Global Trading System. I published that in March of last year. But if you kind of want the playbook from a monetary policy, that's where that came from. Was from Moran. I mean, he's got a PhD from Harvard, studied economics, philosophy, and math at Boston University. He was at Hudson Bay Capital Management as a senior strategist. All fine, but as happens sometimes when you get somebody who's pretty intelligent, is
Listen to anybody?
they can get a little bit of a god complex.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. Let's see how close we can get to prior high. Almost there. Very likely may go up here and kind of wick into this area. That's why I'm just giving a little bit of breathing room. And then once they get up towards the 440 area, then I'll put some sell stops under here, because it's like this responsive trade up, and then it'll just fail. I mean, if it's gonna fail, I don't know. We'll see.
You just wait and get out there to see some kind of rejection, and then throw your stop a little bit.
Yep. So there are, see this 135 area. Okay, good. All right. So now I'm seeing like some buying imbalance on a short term. So I'm going to put sell stops. So if I get stopped, that's just that's risk protection, but I'll stop it. Yep, that looks like that's what they're going to do. Stop. It's getting close to me being wrong. And if I get filled here at 420, I absolutely will have hard stops at prior day's high.
Order filled.
There we go. All right, go down to yesterday's close now, please. Come on. Shoot. Come on. And this is something that behavior I've been noticing that I'm just having to adapt to. So we've got this GEX level at 425. So depending on what people are positioned at the close, I mean, we may just end up rotating around that price, and we don't get the development at 400 that I'm looking for, because the GEX rules. So like that has more weight than a close. So we'll see. I don't like it. I don't like that we're right back up to 425. I do not like that. That's danger. Come on. Okay. Well, ready to punch out here. Yeah. They're going to run it. I need some tempo selling. That's what I really need. I need some tempo selling. Yeah. Gosh, so many calls being bought here. Dang it. Yeah, it's my own fault. Which is why I don't know if you guys saw the note earlier this week. Like, you got to be small in the summer. Like, it's just so easy for things to get pushed around, and you have really good structure developing, and it just ends up being not what you want. Because at this point, it could go either way. They could goose it up to 485, or right back down to. Now there's some bullish imbalance there at the prior day's high. Buying deltas. So that's why I was like, I'm just going to get out of the way. Like, I'm not going to try to fight this and take a good day and turn it into not what I want. Yep, all the way to 45. If they hold prior high, that will be the MO.
But do you see this stuff happen just usually during the summers, like you said, or just you've seen it lately?
This has been the MO since we decided to do everything with 0 DTE options.
Order filled.
No,
Like that's
pretty much in that the whole time.
yeah, like you would not see a move like this in the past, which is why it's just so challenging for me because I go, wow, you have a developing area. You should close down into that 415 400 area. You should not be able to rally like this in the close. And what ends up happening is like we've got this floor rebalance here at 350. This is these positions because they expire today. So the gamma exposure, it can cause the market to really, really push, and then they get out of the way. And what I've often seen is like we'll do a move like this, which is just kind of silly, and then after the close, then we'll trade right back to 400. But we'll see. Really frustrating. The other hard part is at the close like this. So what we'll do here is in 3 minutes, we'll get the floor rebalance, and then I'll mark that with a VWAP, and we'll kind of watch that 30-second range and see if we get, gosh, unbelievable. No, it's not unbelievable. It's totally believable. I'm just not used to it yet.
How long ago did they introduce the same day options?
20. It was late in 22, but it was in 23, November 23, when more than 65%. Well, like when we kind of crossed the threshold where most of the options that were traded were options expired that same day, and that is only increased. So like classic, I don't know if like I saw Greg made a comment in Discord about trend days. Like the trend days we used to know, I don't believe exist anymore. And that's just a function of like how do market makers and everybody relate in that inventory. In the past, there was still hedging happening, but it was in options that had a much, much longer duration. And so you just didn't get these like end of day reactive moves because the gamma just wasn't as big. And now it is. And as many times as I'm like, no, remember that. I just muscle memory is hard to get past. So it's all responsive. This is not somebody that's saying, oh, I want to buy and own this market. I mean, it's responsive activity, but it is, okay, there's that 350 rebalance. All right, so now we're gonna, kind of watch this 30 seconds.
Order filled.
So let's put the think of this like a little bit of an opening range. So the idea is, if we get some significant or some decent movement above this range and then come back into the prior high, then I think we could still get that move down to 410, but most likely not. And if I get the entry here at 438, then my absolute last stop would be at 460. Then I'll be done for the day.
You're just trying to catch that 438 down to 400?
Yeah, I'm still looking for value to shift lower. We've spent more time down there, but maybe we don't. But that's why, like I'm not trying to pick a top here. I really want to see. I want to see some selling that I can lean into first. I just don't see any. And most likely it'll be fast, so that's why the sell stop is that I can get in and. Yeah, Russell did the same thing. Okay, well, we'll see. Buyers run out of momentum, but not yet. See a little bit of selling, some imbalance selling it, but just not enough. You got to get through 438. Or nothing to do. right back to where most of the balance was for the day. All right, gang.
Gonna pop up last couple minutes.
Yeah. I would imagine it's going to go up there and hit, that 45, 470 area. All right, didn't work out. So we protected the risk on it, and we look and see where we are tomorrow. That is how it goes. That is how it goes. All right. Okay, I'll put this recording in, and then be on the lookout for the next one we do, which will most likely be like a replay of. I was really interested in this idea. It was unusual for this time of year that we would have that, and then but it did not work. They don't always work.
But this was the best movie I've seen for quite a while. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're
This was
welcome.
great.
You're welcome. All right, gang. We'll talk to you soon.
Good.
Bye bye.